Well. We gotta finish what we started. Last week, we went into the Tortured Poets department, and now we're going to conclude it with the Anthology. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Cory.
And Taylor Swift put out a double album. We wouldn't be doing it full justice if we didn't do the second half of it. So that's what we're doing this week. We did the Tortured Poets department last week. It's been a polarizing album, to say the least, and we both were in agreement that it was not our favorite of Taylor Swift's work at all.
Yeah, that's real. It was very surprising how single thought musically, just very monotone. If you haven't, check out our first episode on this. But the first half of this album, for me, but for both of us, it was just not what we expected. But outside of that, just not a strong outing from Miss Taylor Swift, especially at the high regard we hold her. She's Hall of Fame here at Turntables Tea, and it was a bit disheartening.
Yeah, it definitely was. Definitely the disappointment of the year for me, I would say so far.
Good.
I expected more from her, but she did give us 15 more songs, and we have to see what they're about. And these songs have generated a lot of discussion and streams as well. So and I certainly have some opinions on all of these songs. So I'm excited to get into them. A few of them do appear on the various physical editions of the album. I'll note which ones those are as we go through this. But yeah, basically, the records have continued. This album debuted at number one with over 2.6 million units sold in its first week, with all formats combined. And a lot of reviews are still pouring, and the talk has not slowed down. With that being said, I'm ready to get into this.
Yeah, let's see the second half, the Anthology.
All right, so the Anthology begins with The Black Dog, which is a reference to a Omen and a London bar. It's a self-penned song by Taylor Swift, which there were two on the first half of the album. So that's always nice to hear, because she does some of her best work just self-penned herself, doesn't need the producer to write it with her. This has been pretty quickly surmised to be about Maddie Healy, particularly because of the reference to the band The Starting Line, who he's covered before on stage. Jack Antonoff produced this, which is not the best omen, actually, because we weren't too thrilled with his production choices on the first half of the album. A lot of uninspired ideas being thrown in there. This one does have a bit of a rock edge to it, actually, which is a nice change for him at this stage of his production career, frankly. We haven't really heard that in a while. And the concept of this song is that she sees her ex go into a bar with another woman. And I like that her vocals are much clearer on this song than the other Antonoff tracks with all that reverb. He really did lower the effects on her voice. And you can really feel the pain in this song. I think this is a really strong song. The Old Habits Die Screaming was one of the first lyrics revealed from this album, and I'm happy to say it was really well used in this song.
Yeah, it's tough for me, or I've had a back and forth with myself of whether we handled these as two separate albums. I'm going to handle that as a second half here.
Yeah.
But this is a great way to open the second half. It's clear. There's musical sparks. It doesn't sound like anything we get on the first half. There is inspiration here musically, and even though it's an Antonoff piece, a struggle that I'll have, that I'll take you guys on with me throughout this, is, are these two albums? And where was the editing, if there was any? Because just speaking of the Black Dog here, I feel like it trumps a lot of songs on the first half. And from an Antonoff perspective, as a producer, I struggled to think that as a producer you can sit there and be like, oh man, this goes on the anthology, because for me it shines way ahead. um of course, when I saw it, I said Led Zeppelin immediately in my head with the Black Dog, but it doesn't give us that. It gives us a little bit of a rock feeling. There is also, for me, and not to jump way ahead, but it happens here. There's a cinematic build and a cinematic feeling inside of this song, but also inside of a lot of songs on the anthology part. And it's something that I look for from Taylor Swift. I look for, we talked a lot about it last week, but I look for this creativity, this level, this caliber from her. And I think we get that here. I enjoy this. This is a great way to start. After the first half, this invigorates me, and I want to listen. I don't know if I said it on air, but we talked about it last week. I usually do about 10 listens for each of the albums, and the first half, or the first 16, it got tougher each time I listened, and that rarely happens. And I feel like this is a great way to start. So I'm happy here.
Yeah, and this is one of the physical edition bonus tracks where it serves as a closing track, and it works well in that regard too. It has that cinematic build where it can be a closing track. So, and she goes in deep on the lyrics too. I mean, she's going to have a priest come and exorcise her demons. She's not playing around here. So, definitely a winner. And it's kind of a shame that if you're going to have to listen to this all in 1 2-hour sitting, you have to wait so long to get to this.
Yeah, that's another beef I have. Like, you look at the streaming numbers and they die by the end of this album, but I feel like there's strength by the end of Anthology, but people don't get to it. Maybe that's just unfounded, but I'm speaking strictly by the numbers. I feel like some people aren't getting this far in the album. I know I didn't. If we wouldn't have done the anthology, I wouldn't have gone to these tracks, which stinks saying out loud, but I'm being honest. I was that put off by the first half of this album.
Yeah, you could tell the numbers go down throughout it because, yeah, not everybody was able to finish this, I'm sure. And 2 hours is a lot. But we've got a lot more to go. So the next anthology track is I'm Gonna Get You Back, all lowercase. Self-explanatory title. She wants to get her ex back. And of course, this is immediately, just because of the title, I think, gotten a lot of comparisons to Get Him Back by Olivia Rodrigo, which is one of her newer songs on her Guts album. The songs don't sound alike. I think that's just an attempt to escalate the supposed feud between those two artists. I mean, it's just a pretty standard 80s based Antonov production. Here's what bothers me the most about this song, actually. The synth line totally rips off the 80s hit She's a Beauty by the Tubes. I cannot be the only person who hasn't heard that. It seems like I am.
Maybe so.
But I think that the writers of that song deserve a credit for this. I think it's very blatant to me. And the song's decent lyrically, but I think it's a filler track. I don't think the production's anything special. And incidentally, the Olivia Rodrigo track is actually a lot more fun and has a much better vocal delivery. Hers is spirited. This Taylor Swift delivery is kind of lethargic, honestly, for me.
Her delivery?
Yeah, on this song, I don't feel like she really gives too much to it.
No, I'm with you. And I dig the synth run. And I don't know the reference that you were speaking of, but just from an Antonov standpoint, again, it's like, where was this virality? Where was this push? Where was this drive in the first half? When did you wake up? And for me, it's a little bit too late. But I'm with you. One of my notes here was lyrics don't match the synth, because she is a little drawn back on this, and this song drives, so it's where it fails for me. It's not a terrible song. It's a cool little jam, and there's more energy here. So I'm still with it, but it doesn't work correctly all the way through as a finished product for me. I hot tea take, whether or not it's a hot tea take, Antonoff really, for lack of better words, in my opinion, shit the bed as far as what he brought this time. And that's crazy for me to say. If you're a first time listener, go on, check our other Taylor stuff, because I've sang his praises. We've sang his praises, but a little bit too late. Too little too late on this one. Also, I'll just get it out because I need to. I don't understand the reasoning behind these non-capitalized titles, and maybe I'm just an angry old man, but it really irks me. I don't understand it. If there's something behind it as far as the reasoning, please let me know in the comments. Put me to rest on this, because it irks me, man. We've seen full albums with non-capitalized titles lately, and I don't understand it. It's breaking my old man brain. Thank you for letting me rant that out there. But not my favorite second track here. Not my favorite at all.
There is a point for one of the mostly lowercase songs that we'll discuss later, but the good news is that we won't be hearing from Jack Antonoff again for a while here, because our friend Aaron Dessner is back in the producer's chair with the next track, The Albatross, and that's good news for us, because we both seem to be in agreement that most of the stronger songs on the first half were the Dessner productions. That partnership still seems to have some juice left.
Yeah.
So let's see if that continues. And starting with the Albatross, which is a seabird seen as an omen and destroyer. She spells that out for us in the song. Definitely an allusion to that romantic poetry movement by using the symbol of that era. I enjoyed this song. I'm glad that I got the vinyl edition with this as the closer. It worked in that context, and it's a pretty tune, and I feel like this is very well in her wheelhouse. Very folklore Evermore like, but in a good way. I do think that sonically, is it something new that we haven't heard from this team before? Not really, but it tells a strong enough story that I can overlook that. I feel like it works really well.
Yeah, it might not be something new from this matchup here with Dessner as far as sonically goes, but it's strong. And wheelhouse, man, this is Taylor for me. Jumping octaves, boom, 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 and then coming off the ass end of that, it just rolls correctly. There's energy here. I open up as a listener. I really like this tune. I love the picking guitar throughout it, and we get a lot of that going forward from Dessner here. And this is where I'll start my next rant, so to speak. It's almost like a warring album here, in my opinion. We get the first half of Antonoff heavy monotone, I won't say crap, but just stuff that I wasn't pumped about. And we get into this anthology side, and this is our first Dessner track, and we get a boatload. I mean, he's 80% of the production on the second half, and it already starts with such a strong outing. So I'm excited to see here. I'm 100% with you. I think you said it totally correct there. There is some juice left with this Dessner Swift if we're just looking at this album compared to what the Antonoff tracks end up being. And for me, I enjoy it way more. It feels like there's a lot more musical thought when we get to the Dessner tracks, and it shows here in the Albatross. It's a really good track.
Let's hope that Dessner can keep it going. Please don't let us down, Aaron, with the rest of this, because I don't know, man, with how the first half went. But the next song from him is Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. Interesting title. This one stuck out at me at first glance of the track list. Was like, huh? What? Okay. What's this gonna be? And it's a piano-based ballad. And it's about an ex cheating on her with someone named Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. So the ex in question is obviously not straight based on that. Definitely referring to Maddie Healy. It's been pretty quickly assumed. And she even says she's with someone new who would have bullied him in school. So, okay, Travis Kelce, there you go. You got immortalized here. Better than in the song about you on the first album. I like that much better. This was a grower for me. When first listen, I listened to all these songs in a row, the whole 2 hour, and at this point of the album, I was just exhausted. And this song didn't stick out to me, and this is one of the reasons why I'm glad we decided to do this second half on its own, because just listening to the song itself, there's a really tragic story being told here. And it takes more than one listen to sink in, but this is somebody who she was really connected to, the subject of this song, and he broke her heart. She was cheated on. He had a drug problem. It's really heavy, and you hear all of it there, and it's really a what if tune. Like, what could have been if this had worked out? And I know personally, I very much can relate to that. I mean, the last time I heard this song, it really hit me and how it came into my life. It reminded me of this, like, what if, what could have been with some stuff that's I've dealt with. So it really is a beautiful song. And again, it's a shame with the sequencing that it's so late in the album, because it's a really good tune. You just have to give it a chance outside of that long ass track listing.
Yeah, I really love this track. It is a grower here for me as well. Something where at first I was like, maybe it's a bit too soft, but it's so powerful in its narrative. I like how Dessner goes out of the box with his musical composition here. We almost get, in my opinion, we get some like Renaissance fair sounds as far as the musicality, as far as the instrumentation goes. And I dig that. It's something that I don't necessarily expect, but it works out well here. And especially with this narrative over top. As far as poetic or the pentameter of her poetry here, I really love the rhythm of her lyrics here. It works well. I can see why it's named or titled this, because that trope there, the Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus, really stands out inside the album or inside of the track, and I dig that. This is a really cool piece, a really, really intricate piece, and something that I was looking for on the first half, man. And this is where I go back into, where is the editing, or do you, I'll say it again. I'm going to say it a bunch. There's two albums here. I really think that there could have been a strong outing with some editing, but I also, not to spoil anything, I feel like this anthology really could have been a strong outing as its own album, especially so far at this point.
Yeah, overall, we're in a really good place so far on this album. There's only one track we've really complained about at all, and we're 4 tracks in, and that did not happen on the first half. We complained about almost all of them at that point.
Yeah.
I know I did.
No, I'm with you.
But we've got to go on with it. And if this is a second album, I've seen this called the second track 5, or emotional centerpiece of the Taylor Swift album. This is How Did It End? Another piano-based ballad, and it's really directed at people's gossip, both in the media and in our neighborhoods. It really showcases that duality, because everybody just wants to know, how did it end? And this is a dark one. I was pretty shook when I heard her in the bridge spell out dying. I was like, whoa, okay, this is heavy. I mean, she sang a lot about dying on the first half too, but hearing her spell it out really took me back, actually. And I really do like how this song shows the parallels between Hollywood and suburbia, and how really gossip's all around you, whether you're a celebrity or not. I feel like this song really showcases that. And it's a dark tune. It's a song, I'll say this, it's a song that I respect more than one I'm probably going to go back and listen to a ton, because it is such a heavy tune, and I don't think it's the most musically interesting song here at all, but I respect the story being told.
Yeah, it's dark, man. I like that. I really like that. Something that I respect that I might not be akin to going back to so many times, but well worth the listen, and I'm happy that I've heard it. The piano arpeggio that the lyrics are over top here is dark. It's reminiscent for me of some very old classical piano, some moving orchestra style old school piano, and I dig it. It is super heavy. It's super heavy as far as what it says, and it's solid. So I'm with you. I give it that respect because it's a solid track here. It's not one that you're going to put on a summer day and do the garden to, or, dance around the kitchen, but it's a powerful piece. It belongs here, especially at a track 5 or second track 5, emotional piece. It works. It works well. This is the caliber that I feel like I'm a broken record on this second half, but this is what I was looking for, at least. Like, I'm looking for this top level, top tier stuff, man, and we're getting it here musically and storytelling, even in its heaviest point here on How Did It End. Really, really well done. Really well done.
We're gonna go to the lighter side with our next track, which is So High School. This has been assumed to be about Travis Kelce. It's a rocky love song. It's got most rock sound I've heard from her in quite some time, actually, out of all her songs. And I like that. I really do like the sound of this song. And Aaron Dessner fronts a rock band, The National. He knows what he's doing with that. I just wish it was used on a better actual song, because this song is incredibly juvenile, and maybe that's the point because she feels so high school. But this is a retread thing, because I know she did some of the teenage love triangle songs on Folklore from that perspective, and that worked really well. But if I want to hear Taylor singing about I feel so high school, I can go back to those early albums that she wrote when she was a teenager. So lyrically, I don't think we're doing anything new, but I wouldn't mind it if the lyrics were actually good. There is one line in this song that has gone viral for the wrong reasons, and it is "Touch me while your bros play Grand Theft Auto." And ironic or not, it's not a good lyric. I can't defend it. That's just not good writing. I don't care if she's trying to be funny. That's why you need an editor. You need somebody to tell you, don't sing "Touch Me While Your Bros Play Grand Theft Auto." That's not it.
I'm going to be on the other side of the coin here. I think this is goddamn genius. One, because this piece of Taylor Swift, this high school love, this young playfulness, I think it's done so in your face. And you touched on this, but I think that's the point of this song. It's so juvenile that it works on a higher level for me, because this is a hot tea take, but this feeling for me is such a big part of who she is, or who I see her as a person. I'm not saying it defines her, but I'm saying it defined her for a hot minute. And as crazy as it's going to sound, I like to stay up on her stuff. And I see her happy. I see them happy. I see them running into each other's arms. I see them going to fish shows. I see them getting crazy out there. And I dig that. I dig the happiness of love. And it feels like a high school quarterback cheerleader type of deal here. And I think that's why this song hits so much for me. In my notes, I have guilty pleasure, but as I talk it through, it's not necessarily a guilty pleasure. This is another level or another bit of Taylor that I look for. Maybe it's that I'm searching to go back into some older sounds and hear them again. But I like when she opens up all the way here, especially in this in your face high school esque type of deal. I'm 100% on this song. I like the energy. I think it fits well pacing. I like how it comes off. How did it end? This dark arpeggio, and the song opens with this like crescendoed note where you're like, oh man, are we in a dark song again? Then boom, it hits with this almost time travel back into her sound. I think it's well done. I haven't used Genius much with these albums, but I really like the way this is done.
I mean, people love or hate this song. It's been polarizing. There's people who think it's one of the best and people who think it's one of the worst.
Heard.
So I guess we've summed that up.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Now that we're on that lighter note, I do want to tell anyone listening, please follow us wherever you're listening to us, subscribe, leave us a nice rating and review, and also follow us on our social media accounts linked in the episode notes. Because now things are going to take a dark turn again with the next track here, which is I Hate It Here. So, spoiler alert, this is the most controversial song on the album. Cory, I'm going to let you start with this one.
I really love it. This is some beautiful picked guitar here, and the power of it really, really speaks to me musically. I also, I mean, we have a heavy, man, I almost cursed narrative here, that is super contrasted by this rolling picked guitar behind. I think it's a beautiful song. I really do. I actually am super excited to hear what you have to say about this. This is one of the ones that I was looking forward to us talking about it, because I have done some reading on how people are feeling, which I usually don't do, but I've been searching my soul and also people's thoughts on this album. And we talked about the last one being polarizing. I think this one is one of the more, I'll even say more hated songs of this second half. And I don't necessarily understand that.
Oh, I understand that. All right. So I agree that the song sounds nice. It is a beautiful picked guitar. I feel like it's so one note, though. I feel like this song just drags and it's only 4 minutes long, but it feels so much longer. And this is one I've disliked it more with each listen. I ended up having to skip it.
Wow.
It's a slog to get through musically for me. And lyrically, she's going on about this escapism route. Like, I hate it here. I want to go somewhere else. That's a theme that was a motif of folklore, was escapism. Yeah. Most especially in the song The Lakes. And I think that's a beautiful song about escaping. Take me to the lakes where the poets went to die. Just beautiful. I felt her there, especially at that pandemic era. This is just, again, I feel like it's more juvenile lyrically. We go from Take Me to the Lakes to I Hate It Here. Like, that's so high school diary to me, and I know she's better than that. And now for the controversial verse. I do have some thoughts on this and the reactions to it. So there's a verse in this song about how her friends and her play a game where they pick a decade to see where they'd want to live. And Taylor says, quote, I'd say the 1830s, but without all the racists and getting married off for the highest bid. This line has gotten a lot of controversy because that's a pretty loaded statement right there, if you can't tell. And in fairness, it has been taken out of context and cherry picked from the song so people can say she's horrible at writing. What are we doing? That's not entirely fair. However, I do think that it's awkward and it definitely sounds a bit tone deaf. And I think that's a primary example of why you need an editor. And what's really driving me crazy with these people online is some folks have pointed out, hey, this is a bit awkward. It doesn't sound great. Maybe you needed somebody to tell you it doesn't. And these Swifties online are saying, if you don't like this song, well, I guess you don't have reading comprehension skills. Excuse me, I do not like this looking down on people if you don't like this album narrative being discussed. Like, this is for intelligent people and you can't read. No, stop that now. That's disrespectful and cringy, and you look like an asshole. You don't look smart. You look like a fucking jerk. I'm very angry about that, but I don't like the song either. And maybe that shaded it for me, but I feel like this is something that's been done better before, and I don't care for it at all.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that on the first half of the album, but people being up in arms about art, period, we always touch on that and say shame on it. I don't know, man. Even with like the Secret Garden touches here and the way it plays through, I think she gets a great point out. I think her narrative isn't necessarily contrived, and I dig that. Maybe I find out something new about myself here, where these juvenile takes I feel like are so hardcore in your face that they're on purpose and they serve a purpose here. I don't think I'm looking too far inside of it, but I might be in the minority on that. I don't know. I don't definitely don't feel the same way on this one.
I mean, this is another you love it or hate it song.
Heard.
And if it speaks to you, I think that's fantastic. I just feel like it's been done better before and without the awkward lines. And about that, it's just such a change that I've noticed, because I remember a few years ago when the Lover album was released, people hated on the "Hey kids, spelling is fun" line in the song Me so much that it ended up getting removed from the song. And that was a campy, silly line, but people thought it was cringy. And my point being that she's not going to get it right every time. It's okay that she sometimes has corny, contrived lyrics, and she's not the most socially aware. I think we've seen that in her past politically, socially themed songs at times, if it's not about her own experience. I don't think she's a protest writer, but again, that's why you need an editor. Just my opinion, but...
Heard.
So, fortunately, it's over. For me, I'm glad it's over. And we're going to move on to a mostly lowercase title. Thank You, Amy. And Amy is spelled Aimee. And in this song, the letters K, I, and M are capitalized. A not so subtle reference, and it was pretty quickly picked up that this song is about none other than Kim Kardashian.
Oh shit, this is the one? I didn't even realize that.
This is the Kim K diss track. Yes, and she reflects on how Kim bullied her and posted a phone call of her and started what we now know as Snakegate. This song really showcases her journey through that. It's like, yes, I was hurt, but while you were doing this, I was building something. I've moved past this, and it goes to a place of gratitude, because earlier in the song, she's saying, I would shout, fuck you, Amy. But at the end, it's now I say, thank you, Amy. So it shows that progression in how she's come to terms with that chapter of her life. And she's built a legacy that Amy can undo. Which is true. She absolutely has moved so far past that and done her thing. And the biggest dig is when your daughter will come home singing a song that we both know is about you. Damn, Taylor, you got in there, because apparently Northwest sings along to Taylor's songs, which has to be a bit weird for Taylor, even though she's just a kid after what her parents did to her. It's got to be awkward, but I think this song has a very nice, breezy production. Antonoff and Dessner produced it with her together. I really enjoy this song. I really do.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was the deal. The narrative is cool. For me, this one is a tad bit over orchestrated and almost has too much musicality in it as far as just a bunch of thoughts. It works out okay. I'm blown away, and now I have to go back and really dissect it as a diss track. Because for me, and maybe that's why it hit so empty. I didn't feel like it was connected. I understood what she was saying, and I dug the triumphant ending, but it felt flat in that sense for me. This is one of my least favorite on the album, in all honesty, just because I feel like it's overproduced. And then going back and finding out it was both producers on it, I gave myself a pat on the back almost and was like, yeah, see, it was overproduced, but I will take another look. Again, though, this one musically not my favorite on this side here. It feels a little contrived musically. I hate beating the contrived thing. I feel like that's become one of my catchphrases, and I don't want to sound negative all the time, but this one just, I don't know, it seemed too cookie cutter for me. But maybe that was on the nose because of what she was saying. I really have to take another look at this one. How the hell did I not figure that out? I saw the IM, I didn't see the K. I was thinking instant messenger. I'm just an old man.
I mean, that is something you can think of, but yeah, this is the most talked about song on the second half just because it's about Kim K. And you know what? Fuck Kim K. I'll take any diss track about her, because why is she still around? I don't get it. But
I knew there was one here and I forgot. That's crazy. Heard that. Yeah, no, I definitely have to take another look.
Yes, but Antonoff is going to stick around for the next song, I Look in People's Windows, which Taylor co-wrote with Antonoff and Patrick Berger. That was the same team that gave us Slut, one of the vault tracks on 1989 Taylor's version. This song, it's about being on the outside looking in. In this case, she's looking in people's windows. And this song has a nice little cool guitar sound. It's her shortest song ever, actually, only 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And I like the sound of this song, but I liked it a lot better 5 years ago when it was called Death by a Thousand Cuts on the Lover album. They ripped off their own song. I mean, I guess you can't really do that, but it is a copy of it. I mean, that song even has the lyrics of, I look through the windows of this love, even though we boarded them up.
I wonder if it's a sequel.
I don't think it's a sequel because that was a breakup song. This isn't that at all. There's no, I feel like it's a lazy retread. And this easy cut, you did not need to release this. And I like the idea of the song. I think it's very relatable. And I really feel like if she had taken some time to write a longer song around this idea and come up with a different sound that didn't copy your own song that goes to both Jack and Taylor, you could have had a cool song, but this is lame as anything. I'm so disappointed because here's my deal. There are songs here that are such an improvement on songs on the first half, but then there's something like this, which is just a blatant retread. It's not even disguising it well. Drives me nuts.
That's where your knowledge sometimes becomes a burden, because I feel, or even the flip side of it, in my opinion, I feel like my lack of hardcore knowledge of her tunes gives me a little bit more of an open mind And there's artists where I will do the same thing and be like, wait a minute, this is exactly like boobity boobity boob. This one for me was such a neat. I have palate cleanser in my notes, but it's more than that. It's a tiny thought. I super relate to this thought. I am a people watcher. I am a lover of what people do, how they do it, and I don't like to use the word voyeur, but more so, I just enjoy the way people do their thing, and I enjoy watching. I'm with her. I go to Christmas parties from outside the window type of shit, and it's, I mean, even on a more anecdotal thing, my wife and I have always went back and forth like, shut the blinds. People are looking in the windows. She's like, nobody looks in the windows. Like, oh man, I'm pretty sure a lot of people look in the windows. Anyway, long story short, it related to me, and I dig the guitar. I don't have a preset on that where it reminds me of something else. So it was a neat, almost inspired. I'll use the word inspired guitar track. It's a cool riff. It's one that I picked up and tried to play, and I will learn because I dig the way it plays out. I like the short thought here too. I don't know, this one I keep coming back to. Maybe it's because it's just a little short shot of some beautiful musicality, but I maybe it's just because I'm a person that looks in people's windows. But I dig this one.
Or maybe it's because you haven't heard Death by a Thousand Cuts. I
This
think
is
you
true.
need to now. We
I,
haven't
I,
done Lover on this show, but now you have to, and you'll
right.
see what I'm talking about. Because that was one of the best songs on that album. Such a great song. I went back and listened to it, and there's just no comparison to me.
Heard. I
But
definitely will. I'll definitely check that out now.
but we've got another somewhat familiar guitar riff on the next song. This one not from her own song, but we'll get into it. Okay. So the next track is The Prophecy, and this is a song where she really wonders what her romantic fate will be. And she asks if she was cursed like Eve was bitten, because there have been failed relationships. She was in a really long one that didn't end in marriage. And she wants love and asks to redo The Prophecy. This has quickly become a fan favorite, and I can see why, because this shows a level of self-awareness that I don't think that we got in the first half of the album. Or even songs before this. There's a real introspection here that takes me back to Folklore and Evermore. I'm really happy to hear that. So lyrically, really strong tune. I can definitely see why it's connecting with folks, but the song's backing track is Landslide.
Holy shit, you're in my notes. I can't find it anywhere anybody's saying it. I don't know how it's not in the forefront of everybody's mind. I thought I was going to bring something new to the table here, Charlie, but you're damn right. It's Landslide. Or it's not, but it landslides there. I go to a landslide place. I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah, and the songs kind of do take on somewhat similar themes, but it's not even clever. It feels too blatant to me. And I forgot to mention this last time. On the physical editions of this album, Stevie Nicks actually wrote a poem for Inside, which I thought was a cool touch. And I'm wondering if that was her way of getting a writing credit on this album, because she didn't for this song. And she probably doesn't need the paycheck. She's made how much money off of Landslide? I couldn't even imagine. And she's a simple person in her day-to-day life, Stevie Nicks. She doesn't need all that. She doesn't need to be a billionaire. She's not that kind of lady. But come on, Aaron. Seriously, Dessner, what were you? How did you not do it? It blows my mind that Two Most Wanted off of Cowboy Carter was noted as interpolating Landslide. I don't hear it there, but I sure as hell hear it here. And I actually feel like a piano-based arrangement of this tune would have been more powerful.
I don't know if I agree with you on the piano being more powerful. I really like this composition. There's a back and forth with the energy that I dig, and it's matched and offset by these beautiful like dulcimer tones throughout that are really subtle, and I dig that. I tried to take myself. I successfully took myself out of hearing Landslide constantly, but I had to at least say that maybe it was some homage, some inspiration, because even outside of the composition feeling like Landslide, Taylor hits some Stevie Nicks oohs up there that are almost note for note. So it's a tough one for me to totally take myself out of that. I swear I went and looked all over the place and couldn't find anybody saying this, but maybe we're opening some minds today. I don't want to close minds by saying this. It's just it's there for
so
me. I must
obvious.
say
How
it.
has no
Yeah.
one noticed it?
Heard. But I dig this tune. It's a 4-minute track. It doesn't feel like it goes on for too long. This is another one where I was just talking about how our knowledge of music sometimes has that little burdening effect where we're like, oh, maybe that's too much of that. It's a beautiful tune. I just there's a little bit too much Landslide here, but if you take it outside of that, I like what he did here. I have to hope that it's not in the forefront of their minds going through here, unless it was an homage paid. I'm talking a little bit in a circle here, trying to make right of it, but it needed to be said.
I mean, Landslide's a beautiful song. It's not a bad riff to copy at all. I can't judge them for it in terms of wanting to make a beautiful song, but just do something original.
From a DJ standpoint, you can put these two together and have a little fun, wild back and forth, and I think it would be a really cool musical trek there.
I hope she mashes them up on the Eras tour for
That
like a
would be
surprise song.
That would be badass. I'm talking that would be next level. Taylor, I know you're listening. Get on that. If you haven't already thought, you can steal that from us, but man, that would be sick. In the middle of prophecy, just go into a Landslide,
Yeah.
bring Stevie out on stage. Ooh, I got goosebumps right now.
Stevie would love it. I'm sure Stevie's thrilled that you did it. So just we had to say it.
Yeah, I'm so glad, man. I thought I was yeah, always in my notes. I love it. I love it.
But the theme of prophecies is actually going to continue with the next song, which is Cassandra. This one references the Greek priestess Cassandra of Troy, whose prophecies were true, but no one believed her. Taylor sees herself in this story, this Greek myth, and goes in on it. It reminds me a bit of Mad Woman from folklore, but it's a more fantastical version of that because we're talking about Cassandra. This is a trope that she's done before, like this kind of Mad Woman idea. We've been here before, but this is a somewhat new take on it. This is another one of those songs where when I listen to this all the way through, I thought, oh my goodness, this is too much. I'm so bored after almost 2 hours of listening to this. This is one, you listen to it more than once, it grew on me so much. There's a really cool story here. Sonically, I don't think that it breaks any major ground, but Dessner is doing his thing here, and it complements it, and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised, because I was really, when I saw that it was a song called Cassandra, I was really worried this was going to be a retread of Betty from Folklore, or Dorothea from Evermore, which were the other lady name songs that she did. I was a little cautious about this, especially when I saw 2 other names as songs. I thought, well, that's not helpful, but this is a neat tune, and it's one I will be going back to.
Yeah, first notes on this was it was a little flat because it almost put me in the doldrums of the first half of this album, but I'm with you. Coming back to it over and over again, it really grew. I love the mimic or the exact back and forth of the vocals and piano in the start. I dig the way that it crescendos out. It has some really cool musical pieces inside of it. It is a multiple listen song in that aspect, though. I feel like first listen, it is a tad boring, but there's a really nice, complicated composition and story here, and I dig it.
Yes. And we're going to continue down our literary realm with the next track, which is Peter. And this song, the act she's singing about takes on the role of Peter Pan, and Taylor is Wendy. She waited for this man to grow up, but the promises weren't kept. In this case, it's Maddie Healy, obviously. I feel like that idea of this man didn't do what you wanted him to do was explored a lot on the standard edition of the album on that first half. I feel like that was kind of really beaten to the ground. And I don't think this song really adds anything new to that conversation. And Peter Pan is just such an overused reference point. I mean, there's so many songs about Peter fucking Pan, and this doesn't add a ton to it. I think this is a really derivative tune. It's perfectly serviceable. It's not horrible, but it's really unoriginal, and not because it takes off of another song. Just, I think I've seen this film before, to quote from Exile in the case of this song.
Yeah. Nice piano ballad here. Not my favorite tune musically, but I rarely do this. I'll give an anecdotal piece here. This song made me cry. And I am a man who lives with a Peter Pan complex, always have. I'm sitting here with a Mickey Mouse hat on as we have this conversation. But this song hit me in the feels. It hit me in a personal level. I related so hardcore to this I really felt it. And I don't think it is a album diamond. I don't think it's much of anything, in all honesty, but the fact that even a tune like that could hit a listener so hard was cool. So it gets points there for that. The Peter Pan trope, I don't mind it, but I also relate to it hardcore, if not really connect with it for good or bad. So this one has a little piece of my heart outside of the musicality. You usually hear me going in on the music and everything. I'm just gonna bring you guys a real honest one here. This one I couldn't judge too much because it hit me too hard.
This was not the song that I would have predicted would have hit you hard here. That was, we actually still have to talk about that song.
Every once in a while, the old Peter Pan complex comes out of nowhere and smacks me in the face. So
Well, I guess better to be Peter Pan than The Bolter, which is our next song, which
that.
it takes on the perception of Taylor kind of going through men quickly. She bolts from relationships, so she was nicknamed The Bolter. This was another one of the physical edition bonus tracks, and we still have one more to go. I think this is the weakest of the ones chosen for the physical edition. They all have a similar theme to them, starting with the word the. It's like they're naming Seinfeld episodes with some of these song titles. But yeah, this is another one. I just don't think that it says a ton new for her musically or lyrically. Not one of my favorites. A bit of a filler for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. It feels I spoke and championed the genius of putting the younger Taylor feeling in our face earlier with tracks, but this one, it just feels like a rehash of old sounds from her. And even though I like the rhythm of the vocals throughout this piece, and the composition isn't terrible, it's not anywhere near anything new for her, as far as what she's saying or the feel of the song. Not a terrible song, but it falls flat in the sense of being around all of this inspiration on side two, in my opinion. All of these newer thoughts or newer sonic feelings here. It feels like a filler track.
Yes, but we are getting close to the end of this, which is wild to think. We've been here a while in this
I heard that
anthology, because we're now at the second to last track, which is Robin, Not About a Bird. It's another name song, but this one takes on childhood. She's encouraging this child to really embrace their imagination and spirit. It seems to be believed that the child in question on this song is actually Aaron Dessner's son, which is pretty cool to know, I think.
Huh.
I think this is a sweet song above all else. I really like the thought behind it. I feel like it shows a maternal instinct behind her, hearing her say, "Where the way to go, tiger," in a song. This is another one I'm not sure it's a real high point for me. It's not one I see myself going back to a ton, but I think it's a nice tune.
Yeah, I think it really works as a penultimate track here too. Musically, great cinematic build throughout. I maybe it's a crazy one, but I really felt like she was speaking to herself, and her inspiration, and really diving into that. And I dug that, especially right before the end. I think it's a great way to sum up, maybe I'm reaching, but sum up what I think she was trying to do throughout this whole album, whether or not she hit that mark or not. I really have a good time with this in this spot. I think it excels as the penultimate track here, and does its job. It's a neat one.
Yes, it does work for a penultimate track because now we are at the end, which is the manuscript. This was the first announced bonus track. This is the go-to standard edition bonus track, it seems. And it's a closer on those editions too. So really, we're getting a finale here. And it alludes to a past relationship. She's reading the manuscript of the whole affair. She's reflecting on it, but over the course of it, she comes to say, it's all that's left, but it's not hers anymore, meaning that it's not her story. And that's such a real thought coming from her because she has shared her stories with the world by putting out now 11 albums. She's given us a lot of it. So, in a way, these stories do belong to other people. And she has said that. And the song that people have specifically drawn this to is actually All Too Well. And it's short film of a music video from when she re-recorded Red. And that makes a lot of sense to me because she even said in the Reputation Stadium Tour concert film that I wrote this song all too well, but while introduced, like I wrote this song as a release, but now you all have made it so much more, and this song belongs not to me, but to you. This is all too well. So it was an album track. It was a track 5 that the fans really embraced. So I definitely see her where she would be referring to that song in particular here, but she could be referring to her whole discography because she shared that with us. So I really do like the thought behind this song, and I think it's a beautifully produced tune as well. So a really fitting closer for this album, in my opinion.
A super fitting closer. This is the ender for this album. It is, I have goosebumps right now, and I can hear it. These just really poignant tones, almost relaxing meditation tones, but just very poignant, very point forward, even in its composition. This is such a great goodbye to this album. I'm going to go hot tea take here. We had our thoughts of why this was released before all the re-releases, re-recordings. If this, again, maybe a hot tea take, but if this was released after all that and this was the final note, I would think maybe she might be taking a break for a second. This is a really forwarded goodbye for me, from her in a very, very beautiful sense of now these stories are yours. I'm handing it off kind of sense, and it hits so perfectly at the end of this album. It is a really neat finale, as you said, a really well done finale, especially for the second half. And again, I'll say it over and over again, the second half is another album for me. This anthology is a different beast. I don't necessarily put it inside of a double album. This is a separate piece, in my opinion, and this is the perfect closer to it.
Yes, and now we're at the end of this. Since this technically is a double album, I do have to ask, does it change the C plus grade that you gave the overall first album at all?
It does. It does because it's such a strong second half. It's we said it coming through. It stinks that you had to wait through all that to get here. I mean, and with the risk of sounding like I'm making a joke out of it, this is a battle album between two producers, in my opinion. You've got an Antonoff album on the first half with some Dessner sprinklings. You got a Dessner album on the Anthology side with some Antonoff sprinklings. And the second half just rings way truer to me as far as a Taylor Swift album, as far as what I expect from her and the caliber of what it brought to the table. So if I judge it as a whole, yes, it brings it up because I'm going averages here. You know, if it was a number score, it would definitely bring it up. But I also fight with the fact of I feel like these are two separate releases. I don't feel like there's a connection between the first half and the second half. Very, very sparse connection lyrically, story-wise to me. The first half was a lot of woe is me doldrum type of stuff, and this second half was very inspired and introspective. I feel like, don't get me wrong, there was plenty of introspection in the first half, but for me it felt sad and melancholy, where the second half really had some triumphant pieces. And in a double album, I can see where that's coming, but I still feel like this second half is its own beast, and I love it way more.
Yeah, I'm overall a bit more critical of the second half. I feel like it had some high highs and some low lows, is how I felt about this second half overall. And I just, what frustrates me is this is an example of why you do not have to release everything you record. Unreleased tracks exist for a reason. Not everything has to come out. And I think if you take the best that both producers gave us on these, on both halves, because Antonoff, not everything he gave us was bad. I just want to say, even on the first half, like I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. Florida, of course, we both loved.
Florida, that's true.
I liked My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toy. So some good stuff
Agreed.
there. I think that if we took the best of both these producers from first and second half and just put like the best 16 songs there, you could have had a really solid album, but there's all this uninspiredness in the middle of it that makes it hard to slog through. And the anthology isn't meant to be cohesive based on the titling, because by nature it's a collection of poems or stories. It's not a whole thing. But there was just something more, there was a more strong set of songs within all of this. We did not need all 31 of these. There were, I think you could have had 16 main ones and a few bonus tracks, because all this together, it's not the best package, but there's gems here, but you do have to dig for them. You really do.
Yeah, I haven't talked about it in a long time, but I was talking about it when she started this Eras tour, and she became, in my opinion, and sort of a popular opinion, she became this new jam band touring type of act, where you're going and you're seeing vault tracks and you're seeing, you know, different tracks on different nights, and people are taking down set lists and people are comparing and going back and forth. And I think it would be great to take a page from those guys, let's say the Dead or Fish, or really any of those guys that I go see, and get songs that aren't released on albums, but beloved live tracks. I'm with you. You don't have to release all this. You know, if you make the music and you want to put it out there, do it as a live only, or do something like that. I think she has the propensity to make that happen, and I think she might be overlooking that. Maybe that's this next era. Maybe that's a new something new for her to look forward to, is tracks that she could just do live that they would embrace it wholeheartedly. Just a wild thought there. You don't have to release everything. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the fun, I think, even just with the vault tracks on these re-recordings. She's given us
Right.
like an EP's worth on each of them, going anywhere from 5 to 8. If those songs came out when those albums were released, we might not have noticed them because it just would have been too overwhelming. But now that they get to stand on their own, we could say this is actually a really neat piece. But she didn't give us that chance here. Instead, we had to get it all at once. And some of these songs had chances to be more special outside of this, whether it be as an exclusive bonus track or vault track down the line. There were just better opportunities for these songs to have been more special. But what is your top pick of this second half?
It's tough, man. It really is tough. That I really enjoyed a lot of the tracks here. My number one though on this one is gonna be, oh man, it's so hard. Albatross, I really love. I dig it. I dig it a lot. I think that's gonna be my pick for this second one.
I gotta go with the manuscript.
Oh, nice, nice. I dig
Just
it.
really powerful, reflective tune. I almost said thank you, Amy, just because I love that it's a diss track about Kim K, but manuscript is hard to beat in terms of pure songcraft.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I am glad that we did this.
Yeah.
And well, we have a bit more to do. And actually, the artist, you can introduce what we'll be doing next. I think what it is something that it's somebody who I think would definitely qualify as a tortured poet himself.
Chris Cornell?
Yes.
Most definitely. Most definitely. He might have a Webster's Dictionary picture next to tortured poet.
Yeah.
But we shelved a little bit of Soundgarden earlier last month or earlier this year.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get back to it. We're gonna go to one that was integral to me growing up and becoming a musician or just being in love with music itself. And we're going to do Soundgarden's second album, Super Unknown. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a good one. We talk about, and I'll talk about this again next week, but we talk about poetry and whatnot. I actually turned in as a 7th grade poem one of the tracks that I won't spoil what track, but I actually turned in. This is before the internet and whatnot, and I got away with plagiarism. And tune in next week to hear which one I actually turned in. But it's such a great album. A lot to say musically and a lot to say poetically. So I'm excited to share that one with you guys.
Yes, and it does foreshadow one of our upcoming episodes as well. So it is all connected, as we like to do it here on Turntables and Tea. So I'm excited to dive into that as well. Band we haven't done, I'm surprised it's taken us this long, but we're gonna do it.
Oh yeah.
So yes, so until then, don't go too far into the black hole sun so you can't listen to the next episode of Turntables and Tea. So until then, go into the super unknown and hold yourself high until next